Well, this is about 1 in the morning on the 27th of September. I want to bring to your attention, as I think I have done in the past, the poetic works of a Waterloo resident by the name of Rienzi Crusz, C-R-U-S-Z. Mr. Crusz passed away a few years back, leaving quite a legacy of poetry and readings and competitions and testimonials in our Waterloo region. I had a chance to speak with him by phone and to stop and chat with him a couple of times in the grocery store in Waterloo, and I found him to be unassuming but sharp as a razor's edge when it came to knowing just the right words to be used. And he knew that I was interested in writing poems, and I'd sent him a package, and he'd studied it and was prepared to make comment and offer help. And he really started out by saying, please don't be in a panic to publish. Writing is your thing. Poetry is your thing. You're the boss. You make of it whatever you want, in whatever form, rhyme or free verse, to whatever purpose, and not forgetting humor, and not forgetting bold correction along the way. He said, I find that the worst part about the whole process is finding that publisher and getting the thing promoted and printed and ready for the bookstores. He says, and the fact that I can write it all is catharsis. It is releasing me under the creative energies that I appear to have been born with in Ceylon, or latterly Sri Lanka, a tea colony of the British Empire just off the shore of India. Anyway, I was in a used bookstore. By the way, that's an illness I suffer, and I don't really want anybody to step in and help me with it. I can't resist going into dusty old used bookstores and seeing what I can find, particularly in the way of poetry. And I'll mention one writer in the general fiction area, because I find this writer to be delightful and still growing and still sharing with enthusiasm and almost a newcomer's thrill. Here's a book, Rachel Joyce. Get a hold of a copy of that book and read it. It does justice to a remarkable female hero, Miss Benson, and quite oddly, she ends up making arrangements to go on an exotic trip to an island not too far from Australia, looking for a mythical golden beetle. And she takes the strangest of travel mates along with her. This young woman is the exact opposite of what Miss Benson is, but it just makes for humor and adventure and the creation of a female hero in fiction that I think stands up with a lot of them, the good ones. Characters that perhaps George Eliot might have written about. George Eliot, you know, is not a male writer, it's a female writer. But she's had to take a fictional pen name because at the time of her writing about social, moral, sexual issues, a woman writer was considered to be as unsavory as a woman actress. It is, you know, a sad limitation, but some of the stuff she wrote was marvelous. Anyway, keep in mind Rachel Joyce. And what I want to do now with the remaining time in this video is read you a poem in the most recent book I found from Rienzi Crusz. And it, as he often does, he goes to familiar local locations and experiences and writes a poem, and there's just all kinds of universal application. This one's called Late Evening in the Bechtel, V-E-C-H-T-E-L, the Bechtel Woods. Show me where the woods begin, and I'll pass the park's vaulted blue skies, the baseball stadium's raucous laughter, the thin voices that race down the mat slides, rise and fall to the happy arcs of the swings, into this narrow path that opens into a kingdom. Tall trees, close as lovers, breathe on each other, talk in rustling vocabularies. I see an autumn leaf unhinge, separate from its mother, fall back to the womb, golden, to return in due season. Scrub grass, weeds hug my ankles like friendly imps. The fallen leaves, turn the page, Doug, one-handed. Soft refuge for my sore feet. As twilight stains the last sliver of light through the trees. Darkness tiptoes in like a thief, and my eyes, my ears, magnify this fragile dust to a midnight ghost, the thin silence to a sweet thunder, the bedtime chatter of birds up safe in their feathered boudoirs. Wow, a lot of images. Here's the book. Don't tell me that I'm not an elephant. Rienzi Crusz. Thanks for listening. Doug Blair, Kitchener, Ontario. Good night.